on what they need to understand. I'm not sure you're aware of this. I imagine you're aware of my work, but we're putting a website together to host a worldwide mandate for mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation, which is in part why I have, these arguments are already prepared for you, because
Yes.
we are actually advocating, as I've advocated for 43 years now, that we resolve our situation by challenging this in court, as you are. But we are further taking it into our own hands to establish mathematically perfected economy as sovereign individuals. So we're claiming laws above any law which exists in any land with this mandate, which will be your arguments. It provides conclusive arguments that there is a monumental crime against us, that there is one solution for the crime, that there is one just means of resolving the crime, and that is to establish mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation. The latter reasons being that that the banking systems of the world have usurped every government from the world as a necessity, as a necessary exercise of their very creation and their continued persistence. So that's the further crime that we're going up against. And you realize, of course, that as an individual, you're placing yourself in danger, and you're doing a very noble thing here, which makes it incumbent upon you to protect yourself by making sure as many people as possible understand the issues that you're exercising here. And I, of course, am going to back you up on that wholeheartedly.
Thanks, Mike. The other important thing you need to be aware of is that I've to protect myself, I started a political party that will take this message to the people. It is already registered as a regional political party. I'm going to get another 450 signatures so that it can be registered as a national party. And then our arguments will be seen on the media, television, newspapers, radio, because the Independent Electoral Commission Act stipulates that all political parties have to be given equal exposure on the media when it comes to touting for votes and elections. And this is what we will be spreading, the message of, sovereignty, a moneyless society, and what I call contributionism. That's what the party is all about. In Africa, it's called Ubuntu, and Ubuntu and contributionism are pretty much an equal kind of synonymous in their outlook on life, and that's very exciting. So,
well, there's one problem I have with one thing you mentioned there, and that's a moneyless society. When you perfect money, there's no offense against anyone, which is basically the entire basis of our legal endeavor as well. So that this idea that money itself is evil is wrong. It's this obfuscation of money which is evil. In truth, in the end, when we resolve all the crime away from it, that is, when we eradicate exploitation through this falsification of indebtedness and unwarranted imposition of interest, we reduce money to mere immutable tokens of value, which are no offense to anyone. So I would, discourage you from, advocating a moneyless society because of course we resolve all the issues which are wrong about money, and the other thing is that until we ourselves are perfect, we need tokens of value. We need the accounting system, which is what immutable tokens of value actually comprise, is a mere accounting system. That is, that you and I are provided some form of credit for our production, which is spendable so that we can get just reward for our own endeavors.
This is where I'm going to have to differ with you, because I've spent 6 years or more researching this, and I find, unfortunately, as long as you keep that kind of thought pattern, you will constantly trip yourself up. It's only when you remove money or the system of any kind of money, barter or trade or value system out of the, only when you remove that from society, everything balances out beautifully. It's what I call in my presentations the natural order of things. That's how things are supposed to be. That's how nature has developed things to be. But through our ego and the physical material world that we've surrounded ourselves in by force, not by choice, by force, that this has really been poured on us. So I will have to take you through the contribution system principles. If you want, you can have a look on my website at contributionism.org, and you'll find the manifesto there. You'll find the new freedom charter that I rewrote, and a few interesting points of departure, like plans for rural towns. And you realize that once you've got one little small town operating as a contributionist or an Ubuntu society, how it creates a domino effect right around the country. And then once you've got a whole area like a country, for example, operating under that principle, it forces the entire world to adopt that system. There is no other way out, and you'll see it runs logically. Once you remove the concept of money, barter, trade, or value out of the system, everything falls into place so beautifully. It is quite spectacular.
I've never witnessed an actual case of that in my life, and what that would advocate would. Well, this can't be an argument. This can't be an argument that we should all just work and somehow we're going to get just reward for our.
There's thousands of years of indoctrination. Yeah.
Well, you have to establish what would be wrong with me wanting just reward for my production before you could ever convince me of a fact that we could be served by eradication of money. I would agree, however, in the long run, that when men are perfect, that we would have no need for it. But likewise, it would provide or impose no crime against us, because if we were perfect and just in all our ways, that it would equate to a mathematically perfected economy. So,
I would suggest, Mike, go into my website and read some of the material. It'll give you a lot more food for thought than I can give you now.
I've banged heads with these people for many years already, and I'm aware of what the arguments are. There basically aren't any arguments, unless you can establish that perfected currency is an offense against someone. Then you have no argument, because mathematically perfected economy still allows you to donate whatever you might. If I need to start a machine shop and I need 3 Bridgeport mills, it isn't right for me to just go to the Bridgeport mill production facilities and sales rooms or whatever and say, I need 3 mills, and just walk away with them.
I have to differ with you. We have to agree to disagree on this point, Mike. And until you see my plan, you haven't seen it.
Well, give me just one reason that to abandon the concept of accounting altogether, as we account of our own volition. If I'm a hardworking guy, I want evidence of my production. It's the whole principle of free enterprise. That is just reward for endeavor.
But you're still stuck in the capitalist thinking, and
no. That's not capitalism. Capitalism is mutually exclusive to true free enterprise, because it argues that for producing nothing, that reward should be taken from the pool of wealth, which denies every producer of the wealth just reward for their production. Capitalism is in conflict, mutually exclusive conflict. I'm not advocating capitalism. I'm advocating true free enterprise. And if you want to trade your work or give your work away, I have no problem with that. But if and when I want evidence of my production so that I can justly be rewarded for my production with others by purchasing others' production, that's no offense against anyone.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to disagree with you there, Mike.
Well, what is the
and I'll
offense?
have to take you through. I'll have to take you through the principles of this at a time that I'm slightly more sober.
All right.
Because
we'll have to you know,
starting to fade rapidly. So
okay,
but,
Michael.
I really appreciate this time and the time you've taken. It's fantastic, and I think we're sitting on a very important historic timeline here. That
you have to understand that these arguments do not adduce or amount in an argument against monetization. They amount to a perfection of it, which is your only defense for what you're trying to do. So if your arguments are to prevail in this so-called contributionism, you should just argue instead that you just deserve to have your house. You see?
Yeah.
You know, and
That'll
that's not
come
going to
later
fly in any court of the land. And it isn't going to fly with me either, because if I just produce a house hoping to have it myself and somebody else walks along and says, oh, I'll just occupy this house. You see, that's not a principle that's ever survived in any culture. You know, it's just merely whimsical.
That's not what I'm promoting at all, but I'll take you through it at another time. It is very simple, but you're doing exactly what I have seen people do over 6 years. And I'll give you the next 10 questions you're going to ask me as well. I can promise you that. I know it off by heart. I know exactly what the people ask when I present this to them the first time.
Well, rather than me asking them, and I'll let you provide the answers in our next discussion. However, if we get caught up on that, see, the arguments I'm going to provide you are about just reward for production. That's their whole basis. And if you want to throw that basis out, you're not
I have to stop that. I have to stop you there. I don't want any just reward for anything. And there are many people that feel the same way. The moment you go down that road with me, it smells of capitalism. It smells of I'm being rewarded. You using the word reward. But Mike, I'd really like to cut this short because I'm really struggling to keep my eyes open. These things that I took are really kicking in, and I'm
okay. Great, Michael. Well,
really
I'll
not.
let you go then.
I'm not doing this conversation any justice right now. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, great. All right, I'm sorry to hear that. So anyway, that's too bad, but we'll take those things up at another time.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Mike. I will email you the documents tomorrow as soon as I've scanned them, so you can have a look at them and let's distribute it to as many people as we can. So as you said, make it public record.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Mike, have a good night.
You too. Bye now.
Yeah, okay. Ciao, ciao.
Bye. Okay, we're alive again here. I don't want any just reward for anything. I have a huge problem with that concept or proposition. And that is that, of course, I do want just reward for my endeavors. If I build a house, I want to own a house. If I produce a bamboo fly fishing rod, I'm the owner of that rod until I intend to give it up for something which may serve me likewise. And that's, I believe, most of our concept of justice. But if we note in the account of all this, there were some further problems, and in truth, I think they really derive from the same lack of accountability. I have a huge problem with these people who, in truth, have borrowed from my work. My work, there was no other work in existence, and I still haven't discovered it for 43 years. And I'm not talking about Me, myself, and I here. I'm talking about